Please open your textbook to page 534. Today's lesson is 12.3, Subtracting Rational Numbers. Today's purpose is to subtract positive and negative rational numbers so we can apply this skill to real-world situations. Okay, we're going to start off with the key idea of subtracting rational numbers. What you need to remember to do is to subtract rational numbers, use the same rules for signs as you used for integers. And what this simply means for rational numbers is that you're going to add the opposite. So think back to when we were subtracting integers from chapter 11. To subtract an integer, you simply had to add its opposite. If you do not still have your notes from chapter 11, please make sure you copy this down into your notes today. So an example of this would be 3 minus 4 equals 3. So 3 minus 4 is equal to 3 plus a negative 4. To add numbers with different signs, we actually have to subtract and then use the absolute value of the larger number of that sign. So the answer is negative 1. Okay, let's work out a couple of practice problems. Example 1 says find negative 4 1/7 minus negative 6/7. Just like we did for 12.2, what we want to do is start by estimating. So negative 4 1/7 is really close to negative 4, and negative 5 6/7 is really close to negative 1. So if I did negative 4 minus a negative 1, remember we add the opposite, so both negatives become positives. Negative 4 plus 1 is equal to negative 3 because we subtract since they're different signs and then keep the negative because 4 has a larger absolute value than 1. Okay, back to our original problem then. We start by adding the opposite of negative 6/7. So my subtraction sign becomes addition, negative becomes positive. We have two different signs, so we actually have to subtract. And they made this fraction, they turned the fraction into an improper fraction, which you can if you want. The choice is yours. But if I have negative 29/7, I need to subtract 6/7. That's going to leave me with 23, negative 23 over 7. And then I need to divide to simplify it. 23 divided by 7 is going to give me 3 with 2/7 left over, and I keep the subtraction sign. Now, as you're doing this, there are so many steps involved. There are lots of places to be making mistakes, so you really need to be careful and go one step at a time. Now, if I compare negative 3 2/7 to my original estimate of negative 3, my answer does make sense. It is reasonable. Okay, let's do a practice problem with decimals. Decimals are considerably easier than fractions. So we have 12 8/10 minus 21 6/10. So remember, we need to start by adding the opposite. So minus becomes addition. My positive number now becomes subtraction. So I have 12 8/10 plus negative 21 6/10. So now I have a positive and a negative number. We actually have to subtract the absolute values, which gives me an answer of 8 8/10. 21 6/10 has the larger absolute value, so my answer is negative. So the difference is negative 8 8/10.